Welcome everyone to episode 5 of our Cocktails at Home series. This is the Martini class. We're doing a couple things different today than we've done in the past. We have Chef Mike Seltzer from the White Dog in Glen Mills with us today. So if you can, if you highlight over top of the Fearless Restaurants camera, hit the 3 dots and pin that camera to your screen. Also, if you see Michael Seltzer, that's another one you want to pin if you can pin to, just in case your screen gets called away. Also, I ask if you can just be mindful of the mute button. I definitely want this to be informal. If anyone wants to ask a question, please do so. But try to, after you're finished with the question, try to put your camera back on mute so it doesn't pull away from the main screen, either myself or Chef talking. After that, I just want to do a quick rundown of what we're going to do today. We have 3 cocktails on our list. We're doing a Cosmopolitan, we're going to do a Vesper, and an Espresso Martini. With the Vesper, I do want to do a quick tasting of 2 different types of aperitif. You have 2 options for that cocktail. You have Lillet and Coca Americano. So we want to discuss the differences between the 2, taste a little bit of that so you can have your preference for what you want to make in your cocktail. Chef Mike is also going to jump in. We had a hummus and cheese pairing available for this class, and Chef is going to talk for a couple minutes on each course about the cheese or the hummus that we prepared, that we paired with that cocktail. All right. Does anyone have any questions before we get going? One other thing I am going to do, we have the chat box open. If you feel more comfortable talking in the chat box, you certainly can. I'm also going to put my email address in the chat box. If you have any questions about this cocktail class or about cocktails, about really anything beverage related in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help as much as possible. So with that being said, let's get started with our first cocktail. We're going to be doing a Cosmopolitan. Let's go through our equipment list and our ingredients. A little bit of a mise en place here. I'm also going to switch to the other camera when we do this so that you have a better angle to see everything. So allow me just a moment. We'll switch to that. Okay, so our ingredients for the first cocktail, we have our liquor ingredients to start. We have our citrus vodka. I think the angle's showing that you can't really see what I have. So citrus vodka to start. Our triple sec, lime juice, cranberry juice, and agave simple syrup. For the agave simple syrup, that is agave nectar 1-to-1 with water. Our equipment list for this is going to be a jigger, our shaker set. I'm using a Hawthorne strainer. In addition to that, a mesh strainer. And we're also using a cutting board and a pen to get our garnish. So let's set these aside, create a little space to get started. And when we're building these cocktails, if you like to chill down your martini glass, this is the time when you want to do that. You just throw a couple of ice cubes in there, swirl it around. That's really enough to kind of get this started. We'll let this sit on ice while we're making our cocktail. And by the time we're finished making the drink, the glass will be chilled down. So when we start off, we always want to start off with our least expensive ingredient. That way, if we make a mistake, we're not throwing away our vodka, we're throwing away the simple syrup or the lime juice, something that's really easy to replace. So if you look at your sheet, on the left-hand side, you have ingredients in the kit. That shows you the full ingredients that you have in each of the bottles. That recipe makes 2 drinks. On the right-hand side, you see the recipe. If you're making just one, you want to do about half of what's in the bottle. So we're going to start off, and it's going to be a 1/4 ounce of agave simple syrup. half an ounce of lime juice, half an ounce of cranberry juice, half an ounce of triple sec. What you have there is Cointreau, and then we're gonna do 1.5 ounces of citrus vodka. And the citrus vodka here is Svedka. I really like Svedka as a value brand for citrus vodka. I think for cocktails, you don't need to go all out with the Grey Goose citrus or something like that. The Svedka is really nice at a more value price. I prefer agave here, a little bit of agave instead of going heavier on the triple sec. I think that gives it a little bit of like a medicinal taste. That's my preference. That's why there's a little bit of agave in there. Once we have everything in the glass, we're gonna grab some ice. You wanna put enough ice in the glass so that I don't know if I can show you here, so that the ice is over top of the liquid. Put our cap on, hold it tight, and then when we shake it, we're gonna be shaking it sideways. You don't want to go up and down. You want to go forward and backwards. And dump out our ice. Now, I prefer to not have ice chips in the martini. That is my preference. So I do a Hawthorne strainer over top of a mesh strainer. That way, any bits of ice are going to be strained out. That's my preference. Doesn't have to be the way you do it. A cocktail snob, I can't. Looks like the color's a little off. There we go. That's a little better. So the pink hue that you're looking for there. And for this garnish, we're just going to do a wheel of lime. And I'm using a lemon here. My lime fell on the floor. So you just take a wheel and you're gonna cut just a bit of a slice right there so it can sit on the side of the glass. And that is our Cosmo. Cheers. Cheers, everyone. Let me check the chat, see if there's any questions.
Cheers.
So I have a question here about the ounces on the jigger. So it depends on the size of the jigger that you have. This is a Japanese style jigger. This is the one that comes in the kit that we are selling. The smaller side of this is 1 ounce, and inside of it, you'll see measurements for 3/4 ounce, half ounce, and some of them even have a 1/4 ounce measure inside the jigger on the 1 ounce side. Flip it around on the 2 ounce side, you have a measurement inside for 1.5 ounces. If you have other jiggers, or sometimes the smaller ones, will have usually the measurements on the outside for what that side is, and they don't usually have measurements on the inside.
But you can use measuring spoons, correct?
If you do not have a jigger, yes, as we said, a 1/2 tablespoon is a 1/2 ounce. I believe that's what it was.
Cheers.
Let's see.
Cheers.
Why do you shake side to side? So when you're shaking, let's grab this for a second. So if you're shaking up and down, you're not really getting the integration with the ingredients as you'd like. It's not a huge deal with this type of cocktail. The Cosmo comes together really quickly and easily, so it's not a huge deal here. But on some other cocktails where you have thicker ingredients, or if you're doing a sour and using an egg white, by going side to side, you get the ingredients come together more, and there's much more integration with all the ingredients that you have inside. If you're doing a sour with egg whites, you're going to get a much bigger foam by going side to side. Question about doing the lime wheel again. Sure. Let me switch back to the other camera so you can see that. Okay, so when we're doing any type of wheel, we want to take off just that bitter end there so you get the part where you're getting only pulp in the center. Let me bring this forward a little bit. And you're just cutting down about maybe a ½ inch. Get a nice disc. And then you just want to slice from the middle out. So you can get a slit in the fruit here. Everyone see that? To slide on the edge of your glass. There's a question about on the value brand. So with flavors of vodka, I like flavors that are not super sweet, really flavorful, and they don't taste like candy. Like I get with half the vodka flavors it tastes like Jolly Ranchers to me. I think there are two brands that I think do a really nice job. Three Olives, which we're going to get to a little later, I think does some fantastic flavors. For citrus, I actually like the Svedka brand for citrus vodka. It's just my preference. Other ones out there are really nice, but that's my preference. So we're using Svedka. How is the agave simple syrup made? Agave simple syrup is 1-to-1 agave nectar and hot water. You don't have to boil it, just hot enough so you can get the syrup to dilute with the water, and it's a 1-to-1 mixture there. Triple sec, the triple sec you have is Cointreau or Combier. Those are two really nice brands of triple sec. I know it says triple sec on the label. I was just trying to be generic there, but you actually do have Cointreau or Combier. I have Cointreau out there. We use Combier in some of our restaurants as a sort of next level up on triple sec. I wanted to introduce Chef Mike for a moment. Let him talk about the cheese that we're pairing with this class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see, make Chef Mike the host for a second. Let him talk about this while I adjust and clean up my station here. Chef Mike, if you would just unmute and you have the floor for a minute.
Great, hello everyone. So this is the first class that Len and I decided to offer food with. So we thought some really great local cheeses and a nice hummus and crudité kind of situation would be a good accompaniment to these drinks. So the first drink, I decided to pair the Dewdrop cheese. So that's a cheese that's the two round, so I have my kit here, the cheese that looks like this. So it's the two triangle pieces with the truffle honey. So this cheese is good because with this drink, because I like the sweetness in the agave syrup to go with the cheese. This is a cheese called Dewdrop. It's from a local dairy from it's actually from Peach Bottom, PA. So super local. It's made from sheep's milk. So that's kind of the twist on, the regular brie style cheese. The sheep's milk to me makes it super luscious. So it goes really well with the truffle honey and a little bit of the baguette or the focaccia crouton, but really good with this drink. It kind of cuts through some of that creamy richness, and I think it's enjoyable together. So try
Chef Mike, you have the balsamic onion jam with that? What is
that? I'm sorry, I must have my kits mixed up a little bit. So the balsamic onion jam goes good. You're looking for something sweet to accompany this cheese. That's why the drink's good. And the onions, so the onions I slow cook in honey and balsamic vinegar with a little bit of fresh thyme, and just let them cook until it got really, really sweet and almost jammy. I like that because it cuts through the richness of the cheese and also goes with the drink. So you can really pair, in this case, the other cheese we have today is called Black Diamond. That's also kind of the same style of cheese where it's a little bit soft, not quite as soft as the Dewdrop. But so the companies could kind of go together. And that's why I love cheese, because you get a different taste in every bite. You know what I mean? So the way this cheese looks when we get it It's like this. So it's a round, small brie. It's from Pete's Bottom, PA. It's an award-winning cheese. You know, at the White Dog, we like to use local products. And this is a great cheese on our cheese board right now. We also have the hummus. So I think we'll save that for the next drink. And then we'll talk about the Black Diamond cheese at the end with the Cosmo. I think that'll be a great pairing. So enjoy your cheeses. You don't have to wait for everything, snack, but save a little bit for each course so you can get that flavor combination that we want you to taste, okay? And if you have any questions about cheeses or where we get things or any of that, you know, the chat's open or I'm here to answer anything.
Thank you, Chef. If there's a question, if you can, how you make the onions, the onion jam there.
Oh, sure. So I slice the onions and then I cook them with the balsamic and honey and a little bit of fresh thyme. I like the thyme flavor with the onions because it really brings out the sweetness, but it gives it like a little herbiness. And then I just slow cook that. It literally took me probably 40 minutes on a low burner. And it just, the balsamic reduces and the onions kind of cook down and then it gets like sticky syrupy. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah. It's good on lots of stuff too, just not cheese, you know?
Thank you, Chef. Chef, could you make me back the host again, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, I don't know that I know how to do that.
Click on my thing, and then
Yeah. Sorry.
three dots on the top right, and hit Make Host.
I got it. Thank you.
All right, so Chef, one quick question there. Any special onions to use for that jam?
Yeah, I like to use just a Spanish onion or like a white sweet onion. They have the best flavor when they caramelize slowly to me. But hey, any onion you have in your box, it would work too.
Thank you, Chef. So we're gonna get started with the next cocktail, and that's gonna be the Vesper Martini. So a quick clip here.
Oh, that's part of it.
Oh, it's not working. Oh, that ruined my plans. I had all the time to play out the James Bond clip where he orders the Vesper Martini, and then it got ruined.
Oh.
Anyway, what I had planned for was to talk about the options for this cocktail. So in the movie, when he orders it, it's 3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of Quina Lillet. Unfortunately, Quina Lillet does not exist any longer. So there's really 2 different options that you can go with this cocktail. The first option is Lillet. This is a descendant of Quina Lillet and is not as bitter. So they used to use quinine in Quina Lillet that had a bitter note to it. That's quinine is the ingredient used to make tonic. It gives it that bite, that bitter bite. They removed it, and now you have Lillet, which is a little bit on the sweeter side, and certainly one option for here. So if you have Aperitif Blanc, that is your Lillet. The option that I like to use is Coke Americano. This is probably the closest thing to what Quina Lillet used to be. This is an aperitif made with quinine. These are 2 different options. You have enough in your containers to do a small tasting of each of them to sort of see what flavors you like. If you want, we can do this together. Let's do just a little splash of the Lillet. It's the Aperitif Blanc. So you get on the nose there, it's really bright floral, a little bit of citrus, a lot of notes that would be coming from the wine there. These are both made with a wine base. The recipes for them, they don't really talk about a lot of these types of spirits. They're really secretive on their recipes. Some of them will tell you like the main 2 or 3 ingredients. Neither of these do. If you are tasting along with it, we can taste the Coke Americano here. And sort of right off the bat, you notice a little bit, a different nose, and there's definitely some notes here. It has a touch more oxidation to it. And you can almost tell that it's not going to be quite as sweet as the Lillet. I think both delicious. My preference is going to be to go with the Cocchi Americano and the quinine version, but you can go either way. You have enough, again, to do 2 cocktails with each of these. It's entirely up to you. You have notes here on your kit for the ingredients. You have both. And then the recipe, you just want to do 1/4 ounce of one of them. Let me set these aside. Let's grab the rest of our ingredient list. I'm going to put aside the Blanc one. That's not the one I'm going to use. I'm going to use the quinine version. In addition to that, we have vodka and gin. The gin we're using today is Tanqueray, 3 olives. This is their base vodka. I figured that it'd be best to use an English vodka with an English cocktail. For the gins, the Tanqueray is a London dry gin, which means it's going to be more juniper forward than, say, an American dry gin like Blue Coat. This is what we're looking for here with this cocktail. It doesn't have to be. If in the future you prefer it with Blue Coat or another gin, you certainly can have that. But the base original recipe is with a London dry gin. And let's go from there. So this one is not going to be, we're not going to shake it. We're going to stir it. If you want to shake it, you can. I prefer stirring actually on this one. I know in the recipes I wrote shake, but
Thank you.
I want to start with stirring, and that's the way that you should make a cocktail here. We're going to go against James Bond, the James Bond version a little bit. So we're going to start off with 1/4 ounce of the aperitif that you chose. Now, American measurements don't tend well to this 3 measures, 1 measure, half. True to the original recipe, but that equals the actual ratio is like 0.37, which is difficult to do with American measurements. You either get a cocktail that's too big or too small if you stick with the 1/4 ounce measurements. 3/4 ounce of vodka. Now, whenever we're doing cocktails like this, we're going to put our ice in last. Actually, whenever we're doing anything, we're going to put the ice in last. We don't want the cocktail to start being diluted as we're making this. If your phone rings right now, the cocktail's fine. We're okay to leave it for a couple months. If the doorbell rings, you can go answer it without stressing about ruining your cocktail. Whereas if you put in ice and then you get distracted, your cocktail is going to be watered down by the time you get back. This cocktail has then 2.25 ounces of gin. Now, we've talked before about cocktails being about your preference. If you typically like your drink shaken, by all means, go ahead and have it shaken. I don't, and I think that this cocktail, we should start off with it being stirred. What we're looking for here is we're just going to add some ice to it. We're going to have our spoon ready, and we're going to have our glass as well. Let's grab some ice for the bottom. The general rule of thumb for stirring versus shaking is whether there is fruit juice added. There is no fruit juice in this cocktail. So to me, you should start off with it being a stirred cocktail. Now, James Bond typically likes his drinks shaken. So that's where I think that comes from, but we're going to try it stirred if you'd like. With the bar spoon, you're just going around the side of the glass, letting it twirl in your hand to chill down the drink. We have our Hawthorne strainer here. Now, with the drink that you stirred, you don't necessarily need a mesh strainer. There's no ice in it to go off of. So just a regular strainer will be fine. If you have a julep strainer, This would also be a cocktail where you could use a julep strainer because there's nothing that really needs to be brought back from the mixing glass. Drink. Now our garnish here is going to be a lemon peel. And I don't have my peeler. Okay. So this, you're going to grab your vegetable peeler and just take it sort of straight from the top, trying to get as wide of a piece as you can. And then we're going to express the peel over top of the glass. So I'm just going to do this from the side to try and show you here. So you take the skin side that was out, not the pith side. The pith side stays towards you. The skin side out, and you're going to pinch it over top of the glass. And what you'll see is the oils from the skin sort of. And this really is a benefit to the aromatics. You're going to smell it in the air already. And when you lift the glass to your face, you're going to get that pop of citrus that is really nice. Some people will also sort of rim the glass like this. I don't think it's necessary, but if you want to, you can. What you don't want to do, though, you never want to rim the glass like that with the pithy side. That's just really just accenting the bitter parts of this side versus the bright citrusy oils on the outer skin side. We'd like to do it with the peel, but the main focus is really just expressing it over top. Cheers. Let's see here. Gin is Tanqueray, that's correct. How many quinine for one drink? 1/4 ounce, maybe a touch heavy if you like that. Are you supposed to be chilling your glasses? You can, if you'd like. That is, again, another preference if you'd like to do that. I don't think this one needs it, but you certainly can. Did I mention the brand of vodka for the Vesper? It's 3 Olives, which is an English brand of vodka. Wanted to stay country specific. All right. One thing I did want to mention, we are going to do at the end of the class today. I made a promise last week to saber another bottle of champagne, and we're going to do just a little prep work for that. So if you are sabering a bottle of champagne, I know we're jumping around on a tangent here, but there's a little bit of prep work for it. You want to take off the foil, not the cage. Take off the foil and dunk this sort of upside down in a bucket of ice to chill down the neck as long as possible. So I have a bucket over here. Gently put the champagne down, neck side down into the bucket here. We're going to let this go till the end of the class. And at the end of the class, we're going to saber open this bottle for anyone that would like to hang out for that part.
Are you going to say inside or outside?
What's that?
Inside or outside the sabering?
I'm going to do it inside again. I know I'm tempting fate a little bit. I did it last week. I survived. I'll try it again. Do it until I break something. Chef, I think we planning the hummus with this cocktail? You want to talk for just a minute about what the hummus is?
Yeah, of course. So the hummus, a little known fact that olives were James Bond's favorite food. So I did a little bit of olive relish for on top of the hummus. So in the vegetable crudité, pour that olive right on top of the hummus. And then our hummus is just a pretty straightforward thing. We get some chickpeas and some lemon. I use this great local tahini called Soom. It's a great product. It's super creamy. It's great for everything. Tahini is like delicious sesame peanut butter. So really good for a lot of different things on toast with some pomegranate, but it's good to have in your cupboard. So we whip that all together with a little roasted garlic and a little lemon oil and a little olive oil, and that's kind of what we serve that with. I have some pita in the box with the crackers and the focaccia and the baguette. There's some pita chips that we made, so you can scoop that up, or we have some baby vegetables that go with that. I did have a question for Len. Hey, Len, I didn't see my bottle of champagne in my kit. Where do I get that to savor it?
Yeah, I thought you were coming over later.
Oh, man. So, yeah, so the hummus goes good with this drink because the olives obviously go with like the vodka and the gin, but I also like that it kind of just clears your palate a little bit for our next drink because that's a little bit sweeter and almost a desserty type drink. So enjoy the hummus. I hope you're enjoying all the food. You know, Len's class has been great so far. So, any questions?
I see a question. What is the Quan Aperitif? The Quan Aperitif is Coca Americano here. This is another product that's a little bit tough to find in state stores. I feel like every week we talk about products that aren't as great, and I really do think that that's me getting on my soapbox again. One area that the state could improve their selection is the secondary spirits. So they're pretty good with the base spirits, tequilas, vodkas. They have a ton of those on the shelves, but the vermouths, the amaros, a lot of those spirits aren't on the state store shelves. And it's I think the people of the state are obviously the folks that they're missing out on that. This is one example of that. They have Lillet on the shelves at every store, so you do have that option. But if you have the ability to get some of this, I think it's well worth it. Let's see, that's why you shop in New Jersey, because you live in New Jersey, right? You would never break the law and drive back into Philadelphia with New Jersey spirits, no. When would you clean the glass with vermouth first? It's another, or Delaware, yes. It's another thing that you can do if you want to sort of accent the aroma or sort of rinse the glass. Some people like their martinis with, instead of doing actual vermouth in the cocktail, they just want to line the glass with the vermouth. It's sort of a way of having just a little bit of vermouth in the glass and sort of protecting yourself against over pouring the vermouth into the cocktail. But that's just another preference thing for the vermouth if you want to line the glass with it or rinse the glass with it. All right. Well, that sounds nice. There was a chat that someone likes to put aquavit, Norwegian aquavit, with for Manhattan. While you're mentioning Manhattans, thank you for that perfect segue. Next class we have is going to be a whiskey class on the 10th of March. So while we're talking about whiskeys, that is something we're going to make. We're going to do an old fashioned, a Manhattan, and a penicillin cocktail in that class. And I'm really excited to show everyone my caramelized sugar simple syrup. That's one of my favorite ingredients. So let's take a second. Everyone have a minute. Does anyone have... Will there be cheeses for the next class as well? Yes, there will be a cheese and hummus pairing. It will be different than this one. Chef Mike is working on the exact pairings for the next class of what they'll be. It'll be similar. It'll be the same price point: 45 pickup, 60 delivery, 15 for cheese and hummus. It might not be hummus, Chef. Correct?
Yeah, I think we're going to try to do some different. We're definitely going to do 2 cheeses. I have a great idea for this smoky cheddar cheese I just got in. So we'll do something with that. And then I think we're going to come up with another kind of fun, dippy, bread situation and vegetables. So, we're going to keep it fresh and new and fun.
So definitely cheese. Secondary ingredients would be different. Can there be a vegan pairing? Absolutely. So yeah. At the end of this, at the end of the class, I'll put my email address up there again. If you purchase a ticket and you need to make a request, I will honor as many requests as I can. I know there was one person out here today that for the next cocktail requested decaf. We can definitely do that. Anything you request, we will do our best to accommodate. A vegan pairing, certainly, we can make that work. Let's see. So if we're all ready, we're going to get started with the final cocktail on the list today, which is our Espresso Martini. All right. I hope you're drinking for quality control. I'm really excited to drink these 3 drinks, and then I get a bottle of champagne at the end of the night. So I have to drink this stuff just to make sure it's good. You don't want to. And at the bottom of the bottle too. That's really where the bottles go bad. You got to taste them all the way to the end. All right, so let me go to the other camera, and we'll get started with our next cocktail.
You're welcome, Osborne. Yeah, gluten-free. Yeah, we certainly try to cater to that kind of stuff.
Okay, so our last cocktail tonight is the Espresso Martini. Our liquor list for this is Espresso Vodka. I talked earlier about 3 Olives. This is my favorite Espresso Vodka. There are not too many out there, but this one I think is the best, the 3 Olives triple shot. Van Gogh double espresso is another version of Espresso Vodka that's out there. It's really nice. If you cannot find Espresso Vodka, vanilla vodka is a nice replacement for Espresso Vodka. You may want to cut it with regular vodka. Sometimes vanilla vodkas are a little too sweet and candy-like and syrupy. So maybe it's a recipe where you do half and half vanilla vodka, regular vodka, if you can't find an espresso vodka. So first ingredient is espresso vodka. The second ingredient here is coffee liqueur. This is Kahlua. Just keeping it plain and simple. For the decaf version, we did a combination of nocino and frangelico, so a walnut and hazelnut mixture there. This cocktail is really interchangeable in that way. You can swap out this secondary ingredient, the coffee liqueur here, for another sweet, nutty liqueur, and it will go really nicely here. You could even do it with Bailey's in that spot. That will go well. The third ingredient is cold brew coffee. So I don't like using espresso for cocktails here, for espresso martini. I know it's kind of counterintuitive. The rationale is that I don't want to be chilling down an ingredient to use it right away. Whereas if I had to get an espresso, I'd have to chill it down, let it sit or take if I wanted to use it right away. So we use a concentrated cold brew coffee for our espresso martinis. And that's what you have here. This is a cold brew coffee, but it's also concentrated. So it's a little bit more intense. And there's also agave syrup, just a dash of agave syrup to mess with the sweetness there. Our ingredients, our equipment for this is going to be our jigger, shaker set. We have our hawthorn strainer and mesh strainer. And then our garnish is fresh grated nutmeg. And you'll need a microplane to get that off. Lastly, a martini glass. I don't think this cocktail needs to be chilled in a martini glass. I like it just a shade above that. Like, I don't want things to be completely frozen when I'm drinking them. If it's a shaken, like fruity drink, I think that's the one where you could, but I don't think it's necessary. Your preference. If you'd like to do it, now would be the time to ice down your glass. We'll set that to the side for a moment. Put our shaker. And again, we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. So this will just be 1/4 ounce. There we go. Of agave syrup to start off with. Now, I like to use ingredients that don't have any additional sweetness. So the cold brew coffee is unsweetened. Or if you have coffee or if you're using espresso or anything, if you're buying it, has some sugar already added to it, you would want to just eliminate the agave portion of the cocktail and maybe go a little bit heavier with the coffee portion. But for this purpose, we have unsweetened cold brew coffee here. and we're going to be doing an ounce of that. At the restaurant, we use Poor Richard's coffee. They are up in Wayne, right across on the street that's across from the Whole Foods in Wayne. If anyone's familiar with that, they do some fantastic coffees. Their processes, their coffees are amazing. Next on the list is the coffee liqueur. So it's a 1/2 ounce of Kahlua. And then lastly, our espresso vodka, 1.5 ounces. And then again, we're going to be putting ice in here so that it covers the liquid in our shaker. And the reason we do that is we want there to be enough ice to go around. If you go too light on the ice, you're not going to get the chilling effect that you want. You're not, for this cocktail, you're also, you want to get a frothy head that you won't get if you do not have enough ice in there. So it's important that you have the right amount of ice to the liquid that you have in there. Like I mentioned with this one, we want to get a frothy head on top. For a couple things, it really helps with the aromatics. It also gives us a platform to put our garnish on. So we're going to give this a good hearty shake. Chef, I don't see you shaking there. Are you not drinking with us?
I am drinking with you guys, but we have a restaurant full of people behind me, so I'm trying to keep it, you know, not too much shucking.
Not my professional. Okay. All right, you're forgiven.
The drinks are delicious so far, though. I will say that.
Thank you. All right, so after we've done our full shake there, let's see. Mike, I think you might still be pulling camera. If you could just mute for just a second. Okay, and then for this one, I do really like to go through a mesh strainer. I think it helps not only straighten out the ice chips, but also helps create the frothy head on top that we're looking for. This cocktail has a lot of different variations you can do. At Rosalie, for instance, we do this this cocktail with a mocha twist on it, where we do a bit of chocolate liqueur in place of the Kahlua. So here you see you have a good bit of that frosty crema right here. And then we're going to take our microplane with the nutmeg and just sort of grate it straight over top. If you have not used fresh nutmeg before, you have way more than you need. We dropped 1 whole nutmeg into everyone's kit. Please try this in place of the ground nutmeg that you might have been using before. It's a game changer for adds that aromatic aspect that we're looking for. It's an aspect of cocktails that I think is underutilized, and nutmeg, or the expression of citrus peel on top, really kind of brings that out. So cheers. Let's go back to the, there we go. Okay, let me check out. Let me catch up here on the make the drink and us to watch. So, okay. Including the list of liquors. Yes, I can. Yes, I can include a list of liquors. It gets a little tricky with the state rules that I can get into more in depth if anyone likes to geek out on PLCB law. It's fantastic. Breakfast cocktail. So it's an anytime cocktail. First of all, this is great for breakfast. This is great for dessert. This is great in the afternoon, really anytime. No chocolate bitters. We do a version where we do add some chocolate to it. Chocolate bitters is a fantastic addition to it. Poor Richards is the coffee place in Wayne. Give a little shout out to them. There's a couple there. What liqueur for the, yes, for the decaf version, we did vanilla vodka, we did decaf espresso, and we did Frangelico and Nocino mix. I think Frangelico by itself is a little too sweet, so I mixed Frangelico and Nocino. Frangelico being a hazelnut liqueur, Nocino being a walnut liqueur. Is this more of an after dinner drink? It can be, doesn't have to be. Patron XO is a great option here. Absolutely. Let's see. Have I tried Mr. Black? I have not tried Mr. Black. I should look into that. Credit for the website for return containers. Unfortunately, no. I cannot use the containers again. Drink is a 10. I can send out the decaf recipe if anybody's looking for it. Let's see. See, Chef Mike, while I'm doing the decaf recipe, do you want to talk about the cheese that we have paired with this?
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite cheeses of the night. I mean, between the two, but one of my favorite cheeses in general. So I have a kind of a whole portion of the Black Diamond cheese. This is a great cheese from Yellow Spring Farm, which is out of Chester County. So it's ash coated. So it's the same style of cheese as the Dewdrop. So it's a creamier cheese, almost brie-like. This is made out of pasteurized goat's milk. So I wanted to kind of give you a different, you tasted the sheep's milk cheese. Now we'll taste the goat's milk cheese in the same style. So this cheese, you see I have a cut version, and you can kind of see the ash right in there. So what they do is they burn vegetable ash, and then they kind of rub it on the cheese. Why would they want to do that? Well, it imparts all this great kind of earthy flavor into the goat's cheese. So as they age, the mold grows on top, and it just gives it a wonderful kind of nice flavor, a little bit of a chalky consistency inside, but like in a good way. I think that's nice with the after dinner drink here, because it's kind of like a creaminess to the coffee. So this would be like my cream to my coffee, I think, in a goat cheese kind of way. But this is a great cheese. It's called Black Diamond. Again, it should be a little bit melty, great spread on a cracker, and the truffle honey goes a nice way with it because it imparts that, the sweetness and the earthiness. So for me, goat cheese always gets something like a little bit earthy. Maybe it's a mushroom, maybe it's some truffles, maybe it's, in this case, the truffle honey. But it always wants something that kind of has that like earthy flavor to go with that barnyardness of the goat's milk. I really like that combination together. So drizzle a little honey on it. If you saved any of the onions, you can try that too, because it would go great with this. Yeah, and that's it. That's the cheese.
Thank you, Chef.
You're welcome. If anybody, real quick before I get off, if anybody has any suggestions for food they'd like to see, or like fun ideas where, Len said I could, kind of put it out there and let you guys, shoot some ideas around. So I'm certainly interested in what you guys want. So cheese is like the easy one. Obviously, it has to travel well a little bit, but we love to do some fun things. So if you have any ideas, certainly let us know.
Awesome. Thank you, Chef.
You're welcome, Len.
So a couple of things that just want to make sure we talk about. One, the White Dog Cafe in Glen Mills, the White Dog Cafe in Wayne, the White Dog Cafe in Haverford, and Autograph Brasserie in Wayne and Rosalie in Wayne are restaurants in our group that have opened already. This coming Wednesday, right, like 6 days from now, my days are getting all messed up. The White Dog Cafe in University City opens on the 3rd of March. Louis in University City opens on the 10th, and Mashulu and our LBI locations open on the 17th. So just a little bit of housekeeping there to talk about that. We have, I mentioned earlier, I mentioned again, on March 10th, we have our whiskey class. We're gonna be doing old fashioned, Manhattan, and a penicillin cocktail. Chef will have a pairing for that. We have a suggestion for a hard cheese and a soft cheese next time. It's a great idea. I do want to do the sabering of the champagne bottle. And then I also wanted to throw out a couple of ideas that we were kicking around and sort of get some feedback if it would be something to be interested in. So one of the ideas that we were talking about was maybe a brunch cocktail class, maybe doing a little Saturday day drinking. That would get me out of work for a Saturday. I wouldn't mind that at all. Maybe like a Bloody Mary, sangria, sweet tea vodka, which is my my guilty pleasure is sweet tea vodka lemonade drinks. That's the old John Daly cocktail. I also have the option where we could maybe pair up with a local distillery and maybe do a class from that distillery and try and plan something like that. We have relationships with Revivalist out in Chester County, with Dad's Hat out in Bristol, and Boardroom Spirits actually right near me in Lansdale. So that's another option that we could work on. After the whiskey class, I was also thinking about doing some spring fruits, like a strawberry, cucumber. We'll do some mint, things like that once the weather breaks and we can start to get some fresh ingredients. So maybe like a springtime fruit class where we can do some strawberry, some rhubarb, things like that. So that's the ideas we have coming down the pike. Always looking for feedback, always looking for suggestions. I'll put my email address out there again. And it really is for anything. If you're having a party and you want some idea to bounce some ideas off of me for what cocktails you should do. Beer cocktails are a little tricky because it's tricky to do carbonated things together. So you'd have to have like an entire beer of each with them, or maybe a beer that could work for multiple things. But I get worried about keeping it really cold in the transport. But I love the idea. So if there's a way we can do it, I'm also going to have to figure out how to do this in the summertime when transporting these is going to be a little bit trickier. I need to get myself apparently just a refrigerated truck to drive them around. Not too sweet fruit drinks. Yes, I love not too sweet. Thank you, Jill, for that. Smoky eggplant dip. I think that's not for a drink. That might be for food, Chef. Tiki class. Brent, yes. We'll definitely do a tiki class this summer. All these ideas. Good beer. Oh, speaking to my soul there with the good beer not being frozen. Mai Tais tequila, certainly. Okay. All right, I think we got some good ideas. I'll work on these for the next round of drinks. So before the next class, mezcal. I feel like you know that I love mezcal. Rachel, I think you've heard that. You've heard me preach about my mezcal before. So we're gonna do bourbon next week with the whiskey cocktails. Where can we purchase the honey? Chef, where could someone get the truffle honey?
So we make our own truffle honey here, but it's really easy to do. So we take our local honey. It's actually from Fruitwood Orchards out of New Jersey. So get the best honey you can get. Get raw honey, so it still has, all the great stuff in it for you. So I would get a raw honey. I would warm it up. I would drizzle in some white truffle oil and then let it cool down. So make your own. Don't go buy it. It's going to be super expensive. Do they sell the honey?
Do we sell the honey?
Come by and see me and I'll give you some.
I think you just now have 65 people coming to the restaurant to ask for honey.
Perfect.
All right. Let's see. Cinco de Mayo, excellent idea. Okay. All right. So the last thing I have on my to-do list today is the sabering of a champagne bottle. We did it last week and someone missed it. They exclaimed very loudly that they were unhappy with missing it. So I wanted to make sure that they got a chance this time to catch up. That's for you, Jerry. All right. So when we're opening champagne bottles, should I stay on this camera or do you want me to go to try and the prep camera?
Go to the prep camera.
Go to the prep camera. Okay.
Everybody pin.
Okay, so whenever you are working with champagne, it's really important to remember that anytime you take the cage off, the cork is liable to pop. It's under pressure inside the bottle, so you want to make sure that when you take off the foil, you're fine. But once you take the cage off, you now have your finger on top or your thumb on top of the cork, so it doesn't prematurely pop off and hurt somebody. So it doesn't have to be a ton of pressure, but just enough to know that, okay, it's not going anywhere. I have it secure. I'm holding it. So we chill down the neck as cold as possible for a few minutes there. So this is ice cold. You want to work quickly from this point so it doesn't warm up. If you look on your champagne bottles, you will see a seam where the bottles are sort of fused together front and back. Find that seam. Here we go. Right here's the seam. That's going to be sort of our guiding line. We're going to go straight up that seam into this part right here. Let me grab my knife. So I'm not going to use the sharp side of my knife. It's not needed. I'm using the back side. This part right here. I'm going to try and do it so you can sort of see. It's going to hit this lip, and the entire top is going to pop off. I'm sliding it straight up and hitting right here. Any questions before I get started? All good? All right.
Sorry to interrupt. The prep cam is like a little shaky, at least for me. Like it's very low, like kind of frames per second. So I don't know.
Now that we've done the demo here.
It's doing that for me too.
All right, so we've done the demo. Everybody can see the sort of the small parts with that camera, so we can go to this camera and see this part. It's probably a little better anyway. So we're going to slide straight up the bottle, right up that seam, and hit this lip right here. And ideally, oh, I'm forgetting something.
Were you getting a Band-Aid?
The glass.
You want to have a glass ready. All right, so straight up the top, pop this off. There we go. First try there, chef, huh?
That was good, Len.
That was smooth. Fun.
There we go. That is your savoring bottle. I didn't break
Very
anything.
impressive.
And you don't get glass in your, you don't get the
No,
shards of the bottle in your glass?
there is enough pressure coming from inside the bottle that it pushes everything out. So,
Oh, wow.
I know my hand gestures are fantastic at this point. So pressure inside, blowing out, nothing gets inside the glass. It will go across the room and it will like bang into things. So you don't really want anybody in front of you here, but there's no one here. So we're all good for that. But yeah, there's no way for it to get inside if you do it correctly. Now, you don't necessarily want to do this with every type of champagne bottle. Some bottles are a little cheaper and don't necessarily pop off as well, but a better glass and a better bottle is going to break really nice and smooth right on the lip there and be perfect. What is the champagne? This is the By La Pierre. This is the same champagne we used last week to refrigerate the aperitifs. Yes, thank you. I know I forgot to talk about something. Always refrigerate your aperitifs, just like you would with vermouth. If you open up a bottle of vermouth or aperitif, anything that is wine-based, you want to keep it in the refrigerator after you open it. That is also sort of a way that cocktail snobs like myself judge a bar. If you walk into a bar and you see just vermouths on the back bar that you know have been sitting there for the last month and a half, yeah, they're not taking it seriously. Now, in a well, maybe, because they might go through it fast enough that they're going to go through that bottle in a day or two and it's not a huge issue, and they maybe put it in the refrigerator at the end of the night. So I don't judge the well. I do judge the back bar. If I see a bottle of Carpano Antica that's open on the back bar, I'm going to have a beer. I'm just not going to trust you very much. So, and that goes for Lillet, that goes for Cocchi Americano, that goes for Carpano Antica, sweet vermouths, aperitifs, dry vermouths, anything like that that is wine-based should be refrigerated. If you're making it at home, should be refrigerated all the time. If it's a business, by the end of the day, you want to refrigerate it. Let's see, where did I learn to do that? I could say YouTube, and then I just messed around with it. Let's see, thank you. Your Andre, unfortunately, probably won't work. Flute glass or coupe for champagne. Okay. It depends what your feelings are. I like a coupe glass for it, but the science behind it is going to tell you that it's actually going to make the champagne lose its carbonation faster. Carbonation goes by how much surface area you have. With a flute, very little surface area, so it's not losing that much carbonation as it sits. If you have a coupe glass like this, you have a much wider surface area, and if you pour champagne in here, you're going to be it's going to look nice to start out with, and if you're going to drink it in a couple minutes, you're fine. But if you're going to sip on this for 25, 30 minutes, you're going to notice the difference by the time you get to the bottom of it. So for safety purposes, let's just drink this. Don't want to let that sit around.
Thank you, Len.
Anytime. Here to help.